Hello, hello. I think we're live.
We are because we can see the little red thing that says live.
I see that. If someone could comment and let us know, do you see us on the YouTubes, on the interwebs? I know this is not your usual lineup. You're probably like, who is this person? Well,
Yeah.
hello, everybody. My name is Rita Perez. I am with the Host Agency Reviews team, and I am co hosting this webinar with the amazing Jen Lee of
Woo!
both TPI and Vacation Planners. So,
Yeah.
welcome back, Jen.
Thank you, Rita. And I love co-hosting with you because you're like a marketing genius and you
Thank you.
understand things that we talk about. And I love listening to you as you serve our travel advisor community. So this is going to be good. Those of you that are watching live, woohoo! And those that are watching the recording, you are in for something special
Oh,
today.
yes. I am super excited to dive in because I know we're talking a little bit about storytelling today, and that is a really critical skill to have and know and kind of master, especially in 2025 and beyond.
Yep. Absolutely. All right. So let's get started. Are you good with me sharing my screen and
Yes,
everything?
let's do it. Let's get
All
into
right,
it.
let's see if I can make magic happen. Everybody, hang on. Here we go. Share screen. Oh, God, I didn't test this ahead of time. Here we go. I think
I'm
I've
like, I
got it.
feel like I need a magic wand or
I
something.
know there's way too many things. Why can't we just have AI take over? So, hi, everybody. So, today we are going to be, and by the way, Rita, I am not able to see the questions or anything like that or use. So, just
Okay,
FYI. Okay.
perfect. I'll let you know.
All right, good deal. So, hi, everybody. Good to see you. Today, we're going to talk a lot about story-driven sales. And really, the premise behind this, actually, the motivation for me to talk about this particular topic was a webinar I did not too long ago, where somebody was talking about, I have a 17 question intake form. And then somebody else was like, I do everything through text message. And I'm like, listen, that's great if that works for you. And it certainly is a great way for you to, serve your current clients. But where is the ability or the opportunity when it's so one-sided? Where's the opportunity for you to get the story, to get the motivation out of it? And then more importantly, how do you use storytelling techniques throughout the sales process, the quoting process, even the follow-up process to a certain degree? How do you start utilizing storytelling in the way you speak to your clients and your prospects? And how would this increase your sales? So that's what we are going to dive into. So, all right. Here's our goal today, guys. We are going to cover 4 things and then answer as many questions as possible. And I do support challenges. Anyone who likes to challenge what I have to say, bring it on. So our goal today is we're going to hit 4 things. We're going to talk about how storytelling creates a stickiness factor, which really leads to long-term loyalty and success. Why does storytelling do that? And what's the results of it? Second thing we're going to cover is I'm going to give you a handful of questions that you can ask during the qualifying process or during, somewhere along the line in your conversation. The questions that will actually help you craft the story that you are going to weave and then tell to your prospect. Number 3, I'm going to talk about some technology assistance out there. What are some of the things you should not skip? Do not be lazy on. And again, this is for maybe newer clients. If you've got clients that are constantly calling you 3 and 4 times a year and they're doing quick pop vacations, you might not need to paint a story unless you want to elevate their travel experience and you're like tired of them only doing the really inexpensive things. You want them to try something new. What are the technology assists that you should not skip? And then finally, subtle maneuvers that you can be doing with your clients that they won't see coming. So, Rita, does that sound exciting?
That sounds super exciting because
Yeah,
I
don't
love
go
how
away. You can be part of this, okay? You don't need to go away. Okay. All right, so let's dive right in. And by the way, I have that same shirt this girl has on. That's the reason why I chose that picture. She looks adorable. Okay, next, we're going to cover 3 basic principles that you need to keep in mind as we go through the rest of today's webinar. So the 3 principles are, if you've ever heard me speak, number 1, I say it every single time, people buy on emotion and justify logically. So, what that means is everything we do, everything we're purchasing, and purchasing could be I'm trying to sell my personality to somebody else so that they actually want to buy into a conversation with me. Buying is actual the physical buying, saying yes to something. Buying could be making a connection, a personality connection. So, in reality, our brains work this way. We emotionally buy into something, and then we start justifying what we want from a logical perspective. Rita, have you ever purchased something and you're like, I cannot believe I just spent that kind of money on that, but it just makes total sense and you like justified it completely?
Yes, this happened recently, actually,
Mhm.
on a trip that's coming up. I was like, but what about all these other things? And I'm like, you know what? We're gonna invest on the future here because
Mhm.
that's gonna be much more fulfilling right now.
Right. And we all fill in the blanks, right? So, in the
Yeah.
storytelling aspect of this, what we're doing is, as the advisor telling the story or crafting the story, we're tapping into that emotional aspect of the experience that we are trying to craft and curate for them. The second basic principle is that what really storytelling is it gives you an opportunity to highlight a need and show the solution. All right. And I'm going to give you guys, somebody remind me to do this later on. I'm going to give you like a little trick formula in marketing. I call it the this and that formula, the this and that formula. So we'll talk about that in just a little bit. But storytelling gives you that really good opportunity to do that. And then number three, a basic principle is we all want to see ourselves in a successful journey. Don't we dream? Right, Rita? We dream. We see ourselves. We all see ourselves in a success, unless you're just a massive pessimist and then you don't see yourself in a successful journey, but you're still on a journey, right? So if you
100.
buy into these three principles, it fully supports the notion of storytelling as a way for you to create that stickiness factor for you to connect with folks, right? I'm even doing storytelling right now, right? I'm bringing up, have you always felt like this, but this actually happens? You're crafting
Mhm.
that visual in your head as I'm telling you a story. And part of this story is we're going to make you super successful at the end. Follow along because here we go, right?
Yep. Hey, Jen, were you gonna mention an example of this? Because something just came to mind of an
Sure.
industry that does this really well.
Go for it. Tell me.
I think car commercials, when you
Oh,
see car commercials on television, they're
mhm.
not saying like there's 4 doors and a whatever engine and all that. They're
Right.
telling you the story of why somebody is using the car and using the vehicle to do dream bigger, help family members out or
Right.
something like that.
Save the animals. Subaru is a master at this. I bought a Subaru. I kid you, it's a great car, by the way, but it's not normally my kind of jam. I'm more of a BMW, a Lexus kind of gal. But we
Mhm.
bought a Subaru because they were going to donate $500 to the Southeastern Guide Dogs. I'm
Wow.
like, I want to do business with somebody who's going to support the guide dogs.
Mhm. That's
Literally, that was
incredible.
one of our motivators. And we did sell the car a couple of years later. But we were able to be a participant in that story. And the
Right.
story that they were sharing, to your point, Rita, thank you. To your point, the story they were sharing was not about the safety features and all that. That's a good story for others, but it was, we give back. It's love, right? Isn't love in their
Mhm.
tagline? Subaru, love. So think about it. And Rita's correct. We're not, it's we connect with the story. I'm going to talk
Mhm.
about that car commercial for a second now that you brought it up. So many years ago, I remember there was this whole trend where car dealerships were like, buy a Honda and get $2,500 cash back. Do you remember those back in the
Oh,
day?
yeah. Lots,
And I
tons.
remember, for whatever reason, I was sitting there was two car commercials back to back. And one of them was, I'm going to make it up. One was Honda, one was Toyota. And one was like, buy a Honda and get $2,500 cash back. Check out the leather seats. And we've got 15 cars on the lot. And logic, right?
Right.
The very next commercial said, buy a Toyota and pay off your credit card.
Oh,
Buy a Toyota and take your family on vacation. Buy a toy, right?
those are impactful.
Super powerful. The first was logic first. Buy a car and get $2,500 cash back. Now,
Mhm.
emotionally, you like the $2,500, but you couldn't see this. I didn't visualize $2,500.
Mhm.
The second commercial, buy a Toyota and pay off your credit card. I could see the credit card statement saying paid in full.
Mhm.
Buy a Toyota and take your family on vacation. Bing.
Yeah.
That's a form of storytelling, right? Which takes me straight to, Rita and I did not even practice this. She hasn't even seen the first slide.
Ooh,
So,
stickiness.
yeah, the stickiness factor. So, stickiness success. So, here's some bullet points and let's talk through this, right? So, I would say the very first question we need to ask the audience, and I don't know how many are watching live. Is anybody willing to put it in a comment? We have any comments yet, Rita? It's okay if we don't.
We do have some comments coming in, just a lot of hellos and love from across the country.
Okay, good.
Um, Robin Robin mentioned something about the this or that, but I think we're going to touch on that later on, right?
Yeah, don't worry, Robin. I'm gonna give it to you here soon. I promise.
Perfect.
So, stickiness success. Here are some tips for you. Number one, you really need to understand the story you are selling. Okay, so in storytelling, what's the story you're selling? So in travel, you've got a couple of different stories that you're telling. As a travel advisor, most of the time, you think you're selling the details of the trip, right? That's the story you're selling. You're going to start here, then you're going to go there, then you're going to jump on the ship, and then you're going to go here, and then they're all the things. You're telling the story of the itinerary of the trip.
Mhm.
Some people think the story they are supposed to tell is directly tied to their expertise. This is how great I am. This is why you want to do business with me. Now, these are not negatives. I'm not making these negatives, but we tend to focus on the story of our process, how we're going to help you. It's about us. So whose story are you telling? You're telling your story in that case. I would tell you that the story that you really should be telling is the story of their future. Okay. So write that down. The story that I'm really telling, what I'm really focusing on is my client's future. And now, if you've ever seen me speak, sometimes I get on a soapbox and I get really emotional about the power and the impact that travel advisors have on truly world peace. Quite frankly, we're the only shot in hell that will ever have world peace, is that we are the ones that send people outside of their home to go meet other human beings, to realize we're all exactly the same. We just look different, smell different, not taste, but oh God, that was bad. But dress differently. We have different languages, but we all basically want the same thing. So know the story you are selling, which is about them. That's the storytelling. Number two, once you've grasped that's really going to help. Number two, for a stickiness factor, you really need to understand your client's challenges, right? And I'm going to give you some questions that are going to help you understand their challenges. But if you don't know their challenges ahead of time, right? Not their needs, but their challenges, you can't craft that story. Right? So think about every story you've ever heard. There's always been a character, and this is from Don Miller. Write this down. Don Miller, Building a Story Brand. Write it down. Rita knows this.
Mhm.
Every story everywhere starts with a character, a person who has a problem, who encounters a guide, who shows them the way, who encourages them to go that way so they can either avoid death or, live happily ever after. There's always a character. But you need to know the challenges that you're trying to overcome, because that's part of the story. Number three, be the guide that takes them on their journey. So once you know what the challenges are, now you can be the guide. You almost can hear yourself saying, I hear you. Oh, I see what you're saying. I understand exactly where you're coming from. I just encountered this not too long ago. I'm going to help you. Become their guide. That's so important in the storytelling aspect. And then paint the picture of what the end of the rainbow looks like. All right. And so what I mean by that is, it's not like, Rita, have you ever been y'all that are watching, have you ever been in a presentation and they say, this is 63,000 tons. And they're talking about a ship. I'm I don't know what you mean. Right. I don't know what you mean.
I don't know what that is. Yeah.
I don't know what that means. I don't even know why anybody brings that up. We are not in the sea. We're not at sea trade. I have no idea what that means. 4,000 rooms. Why do I care? Mm-hmm. So what they're doing is they're not painting the picture of the end of the rainbow. They're telling a feature, right? A feature that we don't care about.
100.
Our job, or your job as advisors and salespeople and marketers, is to understand the challenges, put yourself in their shoes, and then guide them along and then paint the picture. Imagine, if you will. And I'm going to give you some tips on that here in just a moment. All right. So that's storytelling.
Yeah, we've got Robin saying that she tells them how their trip is going to make them feel great about helping with reef restoration.
Yes. Oh, that's awesome. So,
Yeah.
Robin, is that because you've talked to them and you've asked them, and you know, and maybe you have a very hyper niche, which I love, and they've come to you because they can tell that part of your story is, sustainability and saving the reefs, and traveling so that we save the reefs, not hurt the reefs. Whatever your marketing message is, you've attracted a person that's interested in that. So you tie in the story, and I'm going to give you some phrases here in a bit, but you tying that, painting that picture, putting them in the reef, on the water, doing whatever it is that you're designing for them, that's putting them in that journey. Okay. So good job, Robin.
Yeah.
Here's some really good questions, and Rita, feel free to pop in here. But here's some just 3 simple questions that you can ask. One or all 3 or none, but I wouldn't suggest none because I'm suggesting them and I think they're good. Number 1, the very first question, or somewhere along the line, when it's a new client or a client that's coming out of the blue with something you're not used to crafting for them, somewhere in that conversation, you have to ask them, what is motivating you to ask me about New Zealand? You know what? We're going to talk about Nashville, but tell me, why Nashville? What's motivating you?
Mm.
Use the word motivating. That's the key. Not, are we celebrating a special occasion? Why do you want to go to Nashville? When you use the word motivating, it crafts the story. Actually, it brings the story out in their head that they're going to share with you. Now, Rita, as a good salesperson, when someone starts telling you the story, what are you doing? Are you filing your nails, or maybe you're
Connecting the dots is the first thing that I think about. And I love that how you say it, what is motivating you,
Mhm.
because that's really the core of why people are traveling. It's not because I want to experience a new destination necessarily. There's something deeper, more
Yeah.
intrinsic.
You're right. There always is. And until you get to that, you listen, when you get to that, I'm gonna flip it around. When you get to that, it's like, oh, they are 100% in your hands. They
Yes.
want to be in your hands. Here's the credit card. Just tell me where I'm supposed to be, or what time is the car service coming to get me, and what should I be packing? Like, that's why those mystery sailings. You remember that a few years ago? It was like on river cruising. Who was doing that? Uniworld? The mystery
Ooh,
cruises.
I
Oh,
don't
I think it
remember
was
that.
Uniworld and AMA Waterways. You would sign up, and it would be like $4,200 per person for your cabin. It was 7 nights, 8 days, and they didn't tell you
Ooh,
where you were going.
that sounds fun. I would do that.
Sold it like crazy, right?
Mhm.
Because they understood the motivation of the person that would be interested in something like that, which
Right.
is, and I would not. I'm a control freak, Rita. I would not. I would not. I would not. But you are an adventurer. This is the reason why you do curate travel and I do not. I just know how to fly Delta, right? So, what is motivating you? Number 2, and this I got from Victoria Detz, who happens to be a TPI advisor, and she's part of the Family Travel Association. And we just did a webinar yesterday on 5 unique, really surprising
Mhm.
destinations for families. And she said, this is one of her questions, and I love it. What picture do you hope to capture while you're on vacation? How cool is that? She said it helps her understand if the picture is, I want to capture my son trying to zip line for the first time, or I want to capture my son coming out of the shell, or I want to capture, I don't know, a family photo because we haven't had one in forever, or,
Mhm.
I want to capture a sunset. It helps her understand and curate the right experience. What picture do you hope to capture? What it's also doing is pulling that story out of their head, and you'll always leverage that story. And then number 3, if we could overcome 2 challenges for you with this trip, what would they be? And that's a qualifying question, but it goes into that emotion.
Mhm.
Rita, do you see how these questions, and of course you have to do the logical questions too, right? You can't like just make up something,
Right.
but you've got to, people buy on emotion and justify logically. The moment you get them into the emotion storytelling portion, or the emotion, what's the word? I'm like groove. The moment you get them into that, you're going to keep them there. And then justifying logically is so easy. That's such an easy yes.
Oh yeah, it makes me think a lot of too where, and I'm not sure like what the term is exactly, but it's kind of like there's this gap present. This is where your client is currently at, and this
Mhm.
is where your client will be at after their trip.
Yep.
You're in charge of making sure that what they're hoping and dreaming is connected to where they're at now and where they want to be.
Exactly, exactly. That really a lot really kind of comes with that third question. You know, what if we could overcome two challenges? Is one of the challenges I never get any rest. I never get to sleep, right? So,
Mhm.
you know, if somebody's like, you know, one of my challenges is I never get to sleep. Well, and let's just say they want to go on a cruise. You're going to pay attention to that as an advisor where you're putting their cabin, right?
Right.
I mean, the good ones are. And those that are listening. The rest, I don't know what they're doing. Read them. Okay. So, capturing questions to craft the story. Now, technology assists. Now, there's a lot of technology out there, but what I mean by this is how can how can the physical assets that you use while crafting and curating an experience really work in your favor with the story? So let's just say, you know, what's motivating you to want to go on this trip, and they say I want to spend more time with my family, or I really need to be out on the sea, or whatever that is. Make sure in whatever place you're using pictures, maybe it's in your itinerary, you know, in the quote process. We use Turn at Vacation Planners, and you know, and I know most itineraries you can just type in Greece, but don't just pick any willy-nilly. You want to continue that story as they go through the itinerary, as you're in the quote process, by making sure you're choosing those pictures wisely. Pay attention to that, because now you're still weaving bits into the story. You're taking them on the journey, right? You're the guide. Number two, details. Choose wisely. And I will tell you, less is more. So if let's just say you have a multi component trip, right? You know, there's a difference between the documents that you send to make sure that they're okay and they know to show up on the airport, you know, at the airport, and then a quote, right? And this is why in the description of this webinar, we talked about, you know, how just sending a flat quote, you know, how sending a quote is going to go wah, wah, and it's going to fall flat on its face. And then all of a sudden you're in a conversation all about logic. Right? So if you choose wisely with the details as you're talking, and let's just say we're going to Costa Rica, and you remember that they said, one of the pictures I want to capture is my son trying something really bold and daring for the very first time. I would be putting a picture of a kid ziplining, number one. Number two, I would use some verbiage and highlight more about the ziplining. And maybe you've heard that he's a scaredy cat, or the kid's never really, you know, and with the safety harnesses, kids from 10 to 17, blah, blah. Pay attention, because especially if it's the first time you're selling to somebody, it's the first time you're crafting a trip, I want them to be blown away, where they don't ask about the price. They're like, you've taken me to the promised land. Let's go, right? So details, choose wisely, less is more. So pick one or two or three, depending on how long the trip is, that you really hone in on. The rest, you know, just put your standard stuff in. Now, I'm all about AI. Rita, you and I have had this conversation.
We have.
Why are we trying to be like the most brilliant human beings ever when we already are? Number one. Number two, let's use AI technology to help us craft that story, right? So if you're getting these components together, don't be afraid of, I'm a chat GPT and a Claude and a Perplexity girl.
Oh yeah.
Claude's my writing partner. Now, I used no chat GPT or Claude for any of this, by the way, because I've learned so much along the way that I don't need it for this particular thing. But if I want to craft an experience and I already know the itinerary, what's the best way for me to present? What's my best opening 3 sentences for a family of 4 where one of the teenagers is really nervous about trying something new? I'm sending them to Costa Rica. And at the end, you know, one of their goals is that their children have tried something, you know, spectacular. They've gone out and jumped off a cliff or something. ChatGPT and Claude will help write that.
BFFs. Yep.
BFF. Okay.
Yes.
Now I failed to mention, do you remember what the 5 senses are, Rita?
Okay.
Sight.
I'm thinking
Yeah.
sight, smell, taste, hearing, touch.
There you go. So Cite. So when you add a video, that was good. I didn't know there was a trick to remembering that.
I made that up just now, or maybe it was like subconscious.
I was like sight, sound, smell, and I couldn't remember touch because I don't have this thing going on. All right, so this is good. See the stuff you guys are learning on this webinar? Okay, so add videos because it touches two of the emotional components as well as two of our senses, which is sight and sound.
Mhm.
Now, if you're Disney, you can somehow or another spray the smell as well, but we're not Disney just yet. So add videos where you can. And then I would also, from a technology standpoint, as you're telling the story and crafting the story with the quote, I would use a Loom video with my proposal. Again, this isn't for like that quick getaway, but maybe it's the first or second time you've talked to this client. You really want them to understand the benefit of hiring you as a travel advisor and letting you craft that experience. I would do the Loom video so that you can sell and paint the picture through your words and your excitement, so on and so
Oh, yeah.
forth. Have you ever done that, Rita? Have you used Loom?
I have used Loom not in that way before, but I think like that is like the extra touch. Like I know we have Abby on the heart team in the comments, and that she said it perfectly. Like this is what elevates the service of the advisors and makes you so much better than an AI or Google or one of the other OTA giants out there.
Mhm. So I was just listening to the Skift podcast, which is a great podcast,
Mm.
SKIFT, Skift podcast. And a couple of episodes ago, they were interviewing, I don't know, some CEO of TripAdvisor or one of those OTAs. And in it, he said, this is an OTA. He said, in the future, which is now, in the future, people will not make travel decisions without solid recommendations from someone that they trust.
Mhm.
So he said it because he was talking about how they're going to increase their reviews and do all kinds of stuff with AI. And I'm like, that's called a travel advisor, ding dong. That is what that is. I don't know if you know, but they're
Right.
out there already. So, and the reason that is it doesn't matter. AI will never replace us, but we want AI to help us
Right.
be more human, right? Be more connected. All
I
right.
have dubbed this year as the year of humanity, where
Mm,
we focus on the things where our human element, our human touch needs to be, and where that touch doesn't need to be, that's where we can leverage the AI.
I
Uh,
love it.
Especially a lot of when we're thinking about workflows, taskless automation, like that's what we can really use AI for
Sure.
if we are fried from the day, especially what you were saying, like I have this client. This is what their needs are. I know this destination will be really good for XYZ. I want to make sure they go here. What else can you suggest to me? Or
Yeah.
where else should I be looking at?
Right. Right. And then this is, you've already got that down. So this is just like the extra whipped cream and the cherry and the sprinkles and the sparkler that comes on top that makes them go, wow, this is
Yeah.
amazing. This is the best ice cream sundae I've ever had. This is the
Oh,
best trip planning experience I've ever had. That's
yeah.
what we need, guys. I'm going to end up
Yeah.
on a soapbox. I can tell. I can
Oh,
tell. Now,
wait, before we move on, Sarah would like to know more about Loom.
ooh, so Loom is like Zoom. So Loom, you share your screen. So basically you're recording your screen and you're walking your clients through the proposal, right? So you've got the screen up. They're not live with you. You're just recording it. You're going to, hey, Cheryl, hey, Dan, I'm so excited to be planning your honeymoon. I know, blah, blah, blah. You tell a little bit of the story. I'm going to walk you through this proposal. And this gives you a chance. And what happens is with Loom, you've got like a little, you're like on the screen. It's like a little pop out circle and you're
Yep.
right there. So they get to see you and connect with you and they're hearing your excitement and you're walking through the proposal with them.
Right. Right. The other one that I wanted to touch on was the pictures.
Yes.
Because I know Abby popped in the comments a link to like some resources because I know you can get some stock images for free off of things like Pexels and Pixabay and Unsplash.
Mm-hmm.
What I would also challenge all the travel advisors to think about is doing a photo shoot of your own and possibly
Mm.
even like crafting that. You can hire, if you're in destination, companies like Pixaround or Flightographer to get photos of you in destination. And if you
Yep.
wanted to stage these types of photos for the types of clients that you sell, So if you're on a family vacation, make sure that your family's in some of these photos so that you
Mhm.
can use it within all of the marketing assets that you have.
Yeah, you've got to, such a great point, Rita. You've got to leverage every opportunity. We're getting ready to leave for the Astor River Cruise Expo here in a
Mhm.
couple of weeks. And wow, what an opportunity to grab content that will last you for
Right.
years, quite
Yes.
frankly, years. But you have to think about that ahead of time. I'd also say that when you're choosing those photos, let's just use this as an example. So this kind of goes back to our car commercial, right? So often I see people or I see advisors when they say, oh, yeah, here's a cruise itinerary, and they put a picture of a ship. Versus if somebody said, we want to, we like to travel because we like to meet new people and they're going on a cruise. This is
Mhm.
showing that story. Here's
Yes.
you meeting new people. Now, personally, I think how cool would it be, or creepy, that you could like put their little pictures on it, like put their pictures over that, but don't do that. But, just this could be you. But that's a subtle way of saying, I heard you.
Mhm.
I'm listening. And
Yeah.
that's really what a lot of, this is not warm and fuzzy. This, I've got a story. This is me sailing, meeting new people,
That
learning more about them. Hmm?
It's exactly what you had mentioned. The picture on the left is the 36,000 tons. The
Yep.
picture on the right is connect with new family and friends like it's the first time.
You got it. You got it. It's almost like you're a storyteller, Rita.
I try,
You're
I
good.
try.
You're really good, girl. Okay. Okay. I thought this was the cutest picture. If I don't even talk, just look how cute this kid is. So, this is subtle maneuvers. Okay. So, these are little subtleties that you can weave in or that you can leverage that people don't really notice that you're doing it if you do it right, but they notice that you're doing it. So, words make a difference. And we talked about AI, and I'm going to give you some words here in just a moment. And I'm going to give you that this and that thing. If this, then that thing. I'm going to give you that formula. But other things like merge names into any of your email automation as often as you can, right? If you've got a proposal and you've got everybody's names in there, find a way, if you can, in your email automation to say, really excited for, you, Mark, Jane, and Joe to go on this vacation. Or at least say it when you're doing the Loom video. Use folks' names. That makes it directly to them and hits them right here. We love to hear our name. Some of us more than others, but myself included. Okay. Then number 3, use other stories in your conversation. So, Rita, I am sure, and you've done it already, like twice, when we're trying to get a point across or when we're trying to connect with somebody, don't we tend to, oh, you know what? I knew somebody who lived there, but
Mhm.
oh my goodness. So you're telling me your teenage son, you're trying to get him to get out of his shell. You know what? I just worked with a family not too long ago that had a daughter that really was kind of affected during the pandemic. She was 6 at the time and she became really shy. Share somebody else's story, because then that gets that person to connect with that story. They're going to share more of their story. So subtly use other stories in your conversation, not to change the topic, but just to use it to kind of go, I get you. Really, at the
Mhm.
end of it, you just want them to see, I get you. Lean in on the important aspects. And that goes back to sometimes less is more, but really lean in, say over and over again, or throughout the conversation. So let's just say, again, it's they said what's motivating them is I really just want to spend some quality time with my kids. You want to say that a couple of times, use their words and lean in on that as you tell the story. And I know you really want to spend a lot more time with your kids. So the good news is you have a 2-hour ride from the airport to the ship, to the port. Talk about quality time. You know, even a negative can be a positive, right? So lean in on those important aspects. And then also understand who you are talking to. Now, Rita, were you able to find that host week interview that we talked about before we got on the air?
I think we were, and now I'm like, I'm not sure if it's Abby or Mary. So host week team or host agency reviews team. Oh, there it is. I think there it is.
So this is one of the resources that I wanted to share with you guys. So what I mean by understand who you are talking to, I do a webinar. Sometimes you'll see it. It'll say personality selling, bulls, owls, lambs, and tigers. You've got to find that webinar and watch it because we don't have time to talk about it. But in the selling and storytelling process, it's important to understand what people are motivated by. What's their core motivation? And that's perfectly tied to their core personality. It's tied to their personality, how they tend to make decisions. And so I want you to do a little bit of research on that. And the moment that you figure out I'm talking to a bull or I'm talking to an owl, you're switching that story. You know what are the important components of that story that's going to motivate that person to feel confident and comfortable in saying yes to whatever experience you've crafted. So understand who you are talking to. They won't even know it,
Mhm.
but it's a subtle maneuver that'll get you somewhere. Do
Oh
you
yeah.
remember that presentation, Rita? I'm not.
I
I'm not going to.
do.
I'm not going to
I
school you on it, though. Don't worry.
That I don't remember which one I am, but I do remember that. So I'm gonna have to rewatch it to figure out where I land again. Because I think I'm a mixture of like two of them.
We all are. We're really a mixture of all four, but our main motivators. I think you're a bull for sure. I think you're either a bull or an owl. I think you're a bull, more of a bull. You know what you want. You're good with what you want, but you're also an owl. You're very attention to detail, very specific.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so you're an owl with a big caring heart. That's what you
Aw.
are. That's
Thank
what you are.
you.
Most travel advisors are owls and lambs, and most of your clients that you really hate and love doing business with are bulls and tigers. Bulls are straight to the point, get to it. Here's the American Express, make it happen. Tigers don't even know that they forgot they called you. They don't know what day it is. They forgot their passport. What do you mean I need a passport? I'm just going to Mexico. Like they don't know. Like
Mhm.
you got to watch that. Okay. Any
Yeah.
questions so far?
Let me see. I know from the last one that you were mentioning, I feel like stealth mode when you're on these discovery calls and you're picking up and you're repeating what they're saying to you, write those down and use those like in your marketing copy. Because
Yes.
especially on your website and if you're making social media captions or blog posts, if you're using their actual terminology, that's how you're going to attract even more people
Yeah.
into your atmosphere.
Isn't she brilliant, folks? I just love her. It's so true, Rita. If you keep hearing, I do a exercise when I speak at conferences and stuff, when I do some sessions. And one of the things I say is I want you to write down 3 words, 3 to 5 words that you hope your clients utilize when they're describing you. And then I have them write it down. And then I say, okay, now pick up your phone and text one of your clients and ask them to send you 3 to 5 words
Mhm.
to describe you. And
Mhm.
it's a very nerve-wracking experience. And what happens is often the 3 to 5 words that they've chosen about themselves, while those are positive, the 3 to 5 words that their clients mention are way more powerful. So
Mhm.
who are you marketing to? You're marketing to your clients, your potential clients.
Mhm.
So that brought that up. Okay, Rita. All right, boy, we're going through this quick, but it's taking up 40 minutes. Okay, so here are some power phrases, and this is where I also want you to remind me about the this and that. Okay, so here are some power phrases that you can use through whether you're talking about it or put it in writing. Don't make them cheesy. So obviously use these based on your personality type or your storytelling. What's the word I'm looking for? Kind of the way you like to be your branding, right? So like you could even say, can you envision you guys are standing out there on the balcony at night and we're sailing on over the open ocean and the sun, the moon is just trickling. Can you envision that? Can you imagine? Think about how it would feel to finally get away and not, because now we're going back to the challenges, right? So think about how it's going to feel to finally get away and spend quality time with your kids, what you so desire. Um, Somewhere along the line, you could say, you know what if we found yourself, what if you found yourself doing this, right? What if we did this for you? Another one would be like, let's daydream about this. Let's daydream. Let's just brainstorm some ideas. Have you ever thought about visualize yourself surrounded by all those, beautiful reefs as you're in the water and you're swimming along? You're painting the picture, but you're also telling the story. And then picture it. I think we lost Rita. I can't tell. Oh, there she comes. Are you
There,
okay?
I am okay. I was like, StreamYard, I think, kicked me out for a little bit, and I'm like,
It,
no.
yeah. That's okay. I didn't say anything super miraculous, but here are some power phrases that you can use either in your writing. But just think about like some of the core words in here. Now I'm going to give you old school resource. Write this down. There is an incredible book that's called Words That Sell by Richard Bayan. Words That Sell. You can buy it on Amazon. I'm old school. I'm actually in my Alabama home, so I don't have it with me. But it's kind of a thesaurus for emotions. If you want to convey the emotion of romantic, here are some words that you can use. Again, it's about conveying emotion. It's not a thesaurus. What's another word for romantic? How do you convey the emotion romance? All right. Now, let me see what my next slide is because I think I'm going to give you the this and that next. Okay. Ready for the this and that? Everybody write this down. Okay. This is a great way to craft a story while you're talking, as well as how you can post things on social, in your newsletter, in a follow-up email, whatever that is. All right. You ready, Rita?
Let's do it.
So, you know how you've always wanted this. You know how you've always wanted this, but this has always stood in your way or stands in your way. You've always wanted this, but this stands in your way. Because of who we are, we do this so you can get that. You know how you've always wanted this, but this stands in your way. Because of who we are, we do this so you can get that. Now, let's put it into play. And I'll say it over and over again if you need to. You know how you've always wanted to go on an African safari, but the thought of the details that go into it and how much you think it would cost has always stopped you? Because we are African safari specialists and help dozens of families a year go to Africa, we can walk you step by step through the safari curation process. This is my words, not yours. Safari curation process so that you can feel confident in choosing the right adventure so you can finally go on that African safari you've always dreamed of.
Boom.
Mic drop.
Mic drop moment.
You know how you've always wanted to do this, but this has stood in your way? Because of who we are, we do this so you can finally get that.
Mm-hmm.
Now, we've overcome the challenge. We've identified the challenge. So in marketing, we know this, right, as marketers, Rita. In marketing, one of the first things you do is you say, who do I want to serve and what are the challenges they have, right? So if you can craft a bunch of those, you know how you've always wanted to do this, but this has stood in your way. Now, you don't have to do it exactly that way, but if you do it that way, it becomes easy for you. And all of a sudden you're sing-songy all the time in your head. And you're crafting a story. You know how you've always wanted to go to Africa, do an African safari, but this has been the obstacle? You know what? Not to worry. I'm your guide. I've done it before. I'm going to take you through the journey so that you can finally check off your list that African safari.
That is a brilliant kind of formula there.
Yes.
I feel like everybody should practice. I know Mary's like, I would love to hear in real life examples. So Travel Pros, if you're tuning in, make sure to add into your comments, use that formula because we would love to hear it.
Yeah. And you can, once you know the formula, it's kind of like Mad Libs. Remember the Mad Libs magazine? You know how you've always wanted to, but stands in your way? Start writing it in. You know how you've always wanted to go to Greece? You know how you've always wanted to go on a river cruise? You know how you've always wanted to do this? You know how you've always wanted to see the pyramids? You know how you've always wanted, then the second, what's the obstacle that normally stands in the way? And now you've got to think about the client that you have. Is it a family? Is it a solo traveler? Like, what's the client, right? They don't travel often. They're a new traveler. They're on a tight budget. You've always wanted to do this, but this stands in the way. Well, that's a potential objection or an obstacle or a challenge. More importantly, a challenge that you hit all the time. So put that challenge in. Tell them, then you need to be clear on who you are and how you can help. and what is it that's important to them, which goes back to the personality selling. So that's why you have to listen to that webinar to understand what's
Mhm.
motivating them to make a decision.
Yes. Yes, I feel like it's because I'm thinking about it from the branding perspective too, when you're speaking a certain way for a certain type of client because that's your clientele, or you're speaking a certain type of way because this client wants this type of trip, but this other client wants this other type of trip. This always makes me think about, and I've always wanted to do like a branding type of training. So I have to pin that now, but relating it to something like the Spice Girls,
Yes.
because Baby Spice would never dress like Posh Spice, who would never dress like Sporty Spice. And
Yes.
so you have to think of like your business and the people that you serve as almost like the different Spice Girls, that
Mhm.
it's something's going to work differently for each one.
Right. But they all together make a great little group, and
Yeah.
they're all individually fabulous in their own way. It's the
Yeah.
same thing. It's the exact, I love that. And I think you should do it. I'm encouraging you to do it. Call me and I'll help if you want to.
Yes.
Yes. So, one of the other things to always be thinking about is, God, you were talking about the marketing verbiage and everything. And I had a great comment on that. Gosh darn it. Getting old really stinks. Anybody 59 or older that's listening, it really stinks. Even though my hair looks better than it usually does. So those are your power phrases, and those are your like ding, 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 ding. Once you start getting that, guys, it just becomes natural. You
Yep.
naturally start thinking that way and slowing down and saying, am I just sending out logic on an itinerary for them to then logically check off with no emotional
Ooh,
connection, right? Or
that's powerful there.
have I created a story through the process, allowed them to emotionally buy into the notion of going on this trip? Have I done that throughout? Because I will tell you, your main job as a travel advisor is not only, it's really world peace, but let's step it back a few, but your main job is to help people feel confident in traveling. Your job is to curate an experience that meets the needs of where they are right then and there in their
Right.
lives. That's your job.
Right.
That's your job. And, don't be quiet or shy about it. That's your job. If all of the 95,000 or 175,000 travel advisors in North America all woke up one day and all said, now I understand what my job is, everybody's phone would be ringing off the hook. So that's why we do these presentations.
Mm-hmm.
I told you I was going to get on my soapbox.
That Sharon says that she is with you. She is
Yeah.
59 plus. So
Yeah.
she completely agrees.
I don't get it, Sharon. I'm telling you. But anyways, so I'd love to share this resource, if I may, Rita.
Yeah.
I've got a fun little Facebook group called Legacy Driven Travel Professionals Shaping the Future. I'm really passionate about what y'all do. I do not curate experiences, but I know how to fly Delta. I tell that to everybody. That's the only thing. I can book my Delta flight and that's it. I can't do anything else. So, but I want to bring all of y'all together, and we put a lot of great insights, share resources. We don't talk about travel partners or anything like that. This is really about working together as an industry to bring our industry together and really kind of elevate it. One of the reasons why we started Vacation Planners, the franchise division of Travel Planners International, was we see a need for answering that question. You know how you've always wanted to make more money as a travel advisor, but all this darn social media and back office support stands in your way? Well, we have the done for you marketing and tech suite integration so that you can finally get back to just selling and scaling your business. Bam. That's how you use it in a real sentence. So join our revolution and this isn't Vacation Planners. This is just a Facebook group, but I'd love for you to join our Legacy Driven Facebook group as we have these kind of fun conversations.
Yes, it's a really great group, and I know that you had even like posted a webinar opportunity yesterday in there. So
Yes,
just lots of really great resources to really highlight your expertise as a travel pro.
absolutely.
Um, I love this. Robin has added in that statement. You know how you have always wanted to scuba the Galapagos, but your friends won't go with you? Because I'm a dive master who leads sustainable trips to impactful areas you can join, dot, dot, dot.
Oh, That's perfect. So, but you make sure
Right.
you end it, but you've got it. End it with so you can always go scuba diving, and so you can finally go scuba diving in the Galapagos.
Yes.
Whatever the beginning was, you know how you've always wanted, then at the end, so you can finally get at the end. That's
Yeah.
perfect.
Yeah. I was like, if anybody else wants to workshop theirs in the comments, I feel like that's probably the one thing, especially like when you're thinking of meeting other people at networking events, trying to connect with new clients or referral partners.
Mhm.
This is where it can get stuck. But this is also like where if you keep repeating it and keep using it over and over again, you're either going to one, memorize it, or two, adapt to the words that your clients use.
Absolutely. Just pay attention, listen up. That's why it's a two-way conversation. It's not just a
Mhm.
one way. And, when it comes to, intake forms, I have some strong opinions on this because I'm a massive believer in automations and utilizing technology to show your professionalism and to set you up for success. I've been up since I've been up since 2:30 this morning driving from Orlando, or really riding from Orlando to Alabama. So apologies, guys. But Sharon, I'm gonna let you in. Someone just joined the Legacy Driven Travel Professional Facebook.
Yay!
Way to go,
Sharon
Sharon.
says, I think she had said, or maybe it was somebody else. Somebody had, no, there's a Sarah. She said she met you at the 2023 Cruise 360
Uh-huh.
and she just loves you.
Oh, back at you, Sarah. I can't see your little picture because I don't get to see all the comments, I don't think. Come on. Oh, I do.
Do you
Oh, here
see
we
him in
go.
the comments section there?
I do. I see Sharon. Yes, I agree. Yes, thank you, Sharon. And Robin, I love it. Yeah, Robin's has got like creating your elevator commercial.
Yes.
Yes. But we don't want to call it an elevator commercial anymore. But it's kind of like if somebody says, well, what do? You say, well, I own a travel agency. And they go, really? Because that's what most of the response is. What do you mean? You guys still exist? And after you get past that, you can just say, you know how you've always wanted to go on a really great vacation, but you don't have time to like figure it all out and you don't know what reviews to trust. Well, this is what we do at our travel agency. We do all that research and walk you through the process so you can finally go on a really great vacation. What's your name? And give me your credit card. That's Robin. That's it. You got it, girl. You got it.
It just
Um,
feels so much more natural in the conversation too, other than like the whole like, I do this for this person.
yeah. There's several different ways to share who you are and how you can serve them. And I'm a
Mhm.
big believer in serving your local community too.
Mhm.
We've got people all around you. You got to get outside your house, but you've got people all around you that are just desperate to go on an experience. And it doesn't have to be an expensive one, but they're desperate to go on a real vacation where their
Mhm.
family isn't yelling at them. I can't believe you picked this hotel.
Right.
Exactly.
Right.
So, I was talking about automation. Thank you, Diana. I was talking about automation. And what I was saying is in your intake form, take a look at your intake form that you have now or your query form. If somebody says, hey, I'm interested in setting up a conversation with you, ask yourself, how many questions do you ask that are logic based versus how many questions are you asking that are
Mm,
emotion based?
yeah.
And then, very much like Coco Chanel, before you walk out the door, get rid of one or two. So get rid of a lot of those questions and have
Mhm.
those questions as part of your conversation. And that, my friends, is what storytelling is all about. Understanding their challenges, who they are, knowing who you're talking to, listening intently, and then crafting that, you being the guide and crafting that journey and walking them through that journey, that emotionally charged journey to the very end where they go
Mhm.
on vacation.
That I think separates somebody from just being a travel agent to an advisor,
Yes.
someone who emotionally cares about the success of your trip or what happens on that trip.
Yep.
Somebody who is a true ally and not just the order taker.
Yep. I agree. I agree. Well, I've really enjoyed spending time with you guys. And Rita, thank you for being such a great co-host.
Yay! I am so glad that I was here for one of your webinars live in person. I'm usually
Yes.
backstage. But this was a really great treat. I think that this was a very much needed conversation within the industry, especially as we're semi in. I know lots more people are feeling wave season a little bit more heavy than others might be right now, but I think this is
Mhm.
a really great reminder of what will separate you from others
Mhm.
and really I hope this empowers you to feel like why people should be using you and your services in your travel agency.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you guys. This was great. Everyone said they loved it. Thank you, Shannon. I appreciate that.
Yes. Awesome. Well, if anybody has any last minute questions, go pop them in. If not, we will see you on the next amazing webinar. And Mary was also even joking. She's like, I feel like we need to tag all the webinars, the Jen Lee webinars, because we've got so many with you and they're always pack a punch. They are so impactful.
Thank you. Thank you. I know I was trying to find them, but if you find one from 2016, it's the personality selling one. Guys, it's a YouTube one, and it's Steph and I, and you won't even recognize us. We look completely different. We look so much better now.
That I also like that for the like the evolution process too. Like you may think that we started out like this and that everybody starts out just perfect, but there's a little bit of growing pains that go into it, and practice makes perfect.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And we're on your side, guys.
Yes. Alrighty, perfect. I don't see any more questions, just a lot of love. So thank you everybody so much for joining us. Make sure that you join Jen's Facebook group so that you can stay connected with her. And we'll see you on the next one, everybody. Thank
Bye,
you.
guys. Bye.